Hello and welcome to a new YouTube video. So today I'm basically going to go through Fundamentals 101. I'm going to try simplify the basics of fundamentals and macroeconomics as simply as I can, right? I think this is a video that I would have loved to have when I started to learn all this stuff. Because there isn't very many really good resources on this stuff. So let's get into this video. All right. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is, just to be quite frankly honest with you, because I've been in the shoes that you may be in if you're just getting into this. Fundamentals are quite hard to learn, and it's a lot harder than technical analysis. Analyzing the various different components, all the different economic data, etc. It's quite a lot of work, and it's a lot harder than technicals, because technicals I can open a chart in 10 seconds, I can have a chart analyzed, right? As I said, it's way harder, in fact, in my opinion. So there's a lot of moving components, right? You've got GDP, PMI, NFP, retail sales, blah, 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 blah. And that's just the economic data. That's not to mention all the geopolitics, just general politics. There's a lot of moving components, right? But what I'll say, I'm not saying this to deter you. I'm saying that this is, in a way, a good thing. And why do I say that? I believe it's a good thing because most people are lazy. And using fundamentals can be a way to get ahead. It can be a tool to get ahead of the crowd, right? And that's the way I view it. That's why I put so much time and effort into understanding fundamentals and using that as my core tool in trading. Because while most people just want to open a chart, flick through it, easy, la la la, I am actually putting in some hard work to understand the underlying mechanics of why a currency pair or why an asset is moving, giving me greater conviction, right? And that is why it's actually good that it's hard. So anyways, this is just a little picture here. You probably can't really see it, but it's just showing the complex nature of economics. There's so many moving parts. But anyways, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to break it down, because the beauty of being a trader is you do not need to be an economics expert. You simply need to know a sufficient amount so that you can make informed trades based off of your analysis. We don't need to get a PhD in economics, right? We just need to know the fundamentals and what makes our currencies or our asset that we're trying to trade move. That's what we need to know, right? And I'm telling you, once you have the basic grasp, I'm telling you, it's very, very, I don't say very easy, but it's quite easy. Once you understand how everything connects together, it becomes pretty simple, pretty easy. And I'm just going to say Forex Factory is absolutely goated when it comes to fundamentals. It's the easiest, best way to learn. It does everything for you, basically, right? So we'll get into that after. But there are three key components. Let's really break this down now. There are three key components to fundamental analysis, right? First, we have economic data. So economic data is everything you see on Forex Factory. Inflation readings, GDP, all these readings, that is economic data. Then we have monetary policy. Economic data feeds into monetary policy, right? So what monetary policy is basically, this is the key driver of currencies, guys. This is the basically interest rates, right? So you have, it's a lot to explain, right, in one video. That's why I'm going to try really keep this simple. But monetary policy and interest rates are really the key drivers of an economy, right? And especially with currencies, absolutely the key driver. So that's the second component. And the third component is geopolitics. These are external factors, right? Such as war, international law, pandemics, right? And basically, these are all interconnected. And that's what makes it quite complicated, right? Because obviously, your inflation reading will affect the monetary policy. And, wars can be started over, various wars can be started over a lot of things, but these wars will then affect the economic data, which will then affect monetary policy, right? So they're all interconnected. And when you have a basic understanding of it all, it's all very complicated. But once you begin to piece it all together, you start to understand how simple it can be, right? So what I'm going to do in this video basically is I'm just going to focus on the economic data. I'm not going to get too much into geopolitics and really monetary policy. I'm just going to focus on the economic data, right? Because what economic data is, right, it's in simple terms, it's the indicators of health of an economy. And they tell you the direction that an economy is headed, right? So we take the US, for example. If we have really high GDP numbers, gross domestic product numbers, it means that the economy is growing a lot, right? So this is what economic data is telling us. It's giving us real life, real world data points on the health of an economy, right? And then monetary policy will then be determined based off of these economic data points. Inflation, GDP, retail sales, all these data points are taken into consideration when monetary policy is being formed. And that is the economic cycle, right? You go in waves in the economic cycle, right? Economy goes through growth, and then it goes through slowdown, growth, slowdown. And this is all determined by monetary policy, which is determined by economic data, right? So you're beginning to see the cycle and how this all kind of interlinks, right? So when we're looking at economic data, what we're doing is we're taking a snapshot of the health of an economy, right? And that's why Forex Factory is so useful, because it has all of the key economic data points organized on a calendar for you to look at. So when we're looking at this economic data, we can really start to see the health of the economy. And once you have a picture of the health and direction of an economy, you can begin to determine what the monetary policy is going to be, and therefore where your currency is going to head, right? So this is all I can imagine when you're starting out. I remember when I was there, this is all still a lot of information. It's a lot to process, and that's what I'm telling you. There is no easy way to explain this. No matter how many times I tried to make this as simple as I can, or I've tried to have people explain it to me in a simple way, it never is simple. It just takes you getting your hands dirty and digging into Forex Factory and economic data and just really trying to understand it. But once you do, it becomes very, very simple. So one way that I look at economic data to make it simple is that there's three types, right? We've got growth data. So we've got PMI, GDP, retail sales. These are all growth data points. They tell us how is the economy growing, right? Then we've got inflation data, CPI, PCE, PPI. These are all data points which tell us, are we having inflation? And then we've got labor market data, which is basically the employment sector. Do we have, high unemployment rate, low unemployment rate? How are the jobs, what's the jobs data looking like? Is there a lot of job openings, etc.? And all these economic data points will then determine central bank policy and interest rates, and ultimately determine the direction of the currency that you're trying to trade and the asset that you're trying to trade. So again, this is a lot of information, but this is a real simple way to look at economic data, right? You can put it into three sections. So I'm going to go over to Forex Factory, and I've just got, you can see here, I've only got USD, and I'm going to put red folder news. I've only got red folder news. And you can even see it breaks it down here for you. Growth, inflation, employment, and then it's got a few others. But again, these are actually, well, these are all linked to growth, inflation, employment, and housing, consumer surveys, and business surveys. They're all linked to these. And then you've got central bank policy, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I highly advise just go through Forex Factory slowly. You can read each one of these, what they actually mean. Look, core CPI, change in the price of goods and services. It tells you a lot. There's a lot to be learned on Forex Factory. But if I come through on Forex Factory, right, and I go back a few days, I open up here. This is just the US. You can begin to see how you can paint the picture of the economy, right? I can see consumer confidence. And okay, I can't explain every single one in this video, but you can see consumer confidence came out quite nicely. You can see JOLTS job openings, again, some good data points. Then you can see, let's just go through, you can see average hourly earnings improved. Unemployment rate is improving. ISM services PMI improving. Just off of quickly looking at some data points, you see a lot of solid data points right there. And let's look at some of the really big recent ones. Core CPI. CPI year over year coming out slightly higher than expected. So inflation is slightly higher than expected, but we have a lot of growth, right? You can start to see how you paint the picture of the economy just by looking at these data points. And again, I'm not going to go into every single one right now. I can do that in later videos. But you will see how when you look at these data points, what you're doing is you're painting a picture and you're seeing the health and direction of the economy. Okay? And in our fundamental analysis and how we can turn this into trades is what we then use that data for is to look, okay, how is monetary policy going to shift? How are interest rates going to shift? And where are then people going to pool their money into because of certain interest rate levels or for security, right? So basically, I'm going to leave it at that with this video, guys. So you can see, I'll come back here. I'm going to leave it at that with this video, guys, right? So you can see how the economic data can be broken down into 3 subsections of growth, inflation, labor market data. And when you look at all of the data points in Forex Factory, what you're doing is you're painting a picture of the economy, seeing the health and direction of the economy, which will then inform you about what are the interest rates going to be? What direction is that currency going to head in, right? Because right now, what we have in the US is we have a lot of strong data, a lot of strong growth data. We have inflation remaining relatively high. And what all that information is doing is it's telling us that the Federal Reserve is going to keep interest rates higher for longer. And that is bullish for US dollar. And I've been playing this idea, this narrative, for the last few months since the start of 2024. And it's showed in some really brilliant trades. But it's all by understanding all the different components of economic data and being able to funnel that into actual decision making. And it seems complicated if you know nothing about it. It seems really complicated, but once you begin to piece it all together, it's actually quite easy. And how you need to start is you need to start with economic data, Forex Factory, just going through it slowly, looking at the data points and beginning to see how it all interconnects, right? So that is my kind of homework, if you will, for you if you're struggling right now. Go to Forex Factory and just click through each one and look at it and begin to realize, oh, these are basically telling me about the health of this economy, which is then telling me about the monetary policy, right? Which is then telling us where is this currency headed. And I'm just going to leave you with this quote, as I love to do at the end of these videos. Any fool can know, but the point is to understand. Albert Einstein, right? All these things are, it's quite complicated stuff. And anyone can shout NFP and GDP and all this. But that's not the goal here. Guys, if you want to really understand the power of fundamentals and fundamental analysis, You need to dig deep and truly begin to understand it. And there's no substitute for hard work when it comes to fundamentals. You need to get your hands dirty, right? You need to start reading. You need to start looking at Forex Factory. Start seeing how they all interconnect. And because it can't all be explained in a 10, 15-minute video. It's not possible. So that is what I suggest to you. Go get your hands dirty with this stuff. And let me know if you have any more topics within fundamentals you want me to talk about, things to explain, etc. Just let me know and I'll help you out, right? So anyways, thank you very much for watching. And yes, subscribe if you want more informative content like this. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you. Until next time, cheerio.